Good morning, everyone, and I would like to welcome you to today's session, a comparison of the allocated versus actual teaching time of the primary mathematics curriculum. Your presenter today is going to be Dr. Joan Roll. She is the Senior Education Officer responsible for primary schools, and today we'll be taking a closer look at grade 1. My name is Dr. Deontay Roll, and I will serve as your moderator today. I want you to take note of the following. Any questions that you may have regarding today's presentation, you can place in the question and answer section of this meeting. Those questions will be addressed at the end, just for a timely execution of this presentation. So as we still have people coming in, we are going to try and begin the session so we can have a timely end. Good morning, Dr. Roll.
Good morning. And good morning to all my wonderful first grade teachers. I am so excited that you have joined me in this session where you will be able to identify the 6 strands of math. You'll be able to appropriately use the math language. And of course, our basis is the comparison of the allotted versus the actual teaching time of the primary mathematics curriculum. We need to know it because when we know it, we will promote to succeed. And we will begin. Now, before I show you the other slide, there were just a few concerns that I had as an officer regarding the execution of the math curriculum, because the math curriculum is the driving force behind the teaching and learning of the same. And so some of those concerns are, why are teachers unable to complete topics in the mathematics curriculum? Why is the pacing of topics a problem? The inability of some teachers to effectively teach the topics in the document. And then further, what topics in the mathematics curriculum are taught and at what pace? Are topics taught in the primary school in alignment with the national curriculum? And so all of these questions and many, many more came into mind. And so what I did, I said, you know something, I'm going to see how best I can help my teachers to improve in the area of mathematics. So therefore, I took on this study. Now, this study, what I did, it was on Tuesday, the 11th of December, where I went into the actual planned books of teachers to verify the topics taught at each grade level from grades 1 to 6, and how long it took teachers at the grade 1 level to complete that task. And so here it was, I looked at 351 planned books. That's a lot, out of 24 primary schools in New Providence. And of course, collecting data from the Family Islands. I know many of you are from the Family Islands. It would not have been feasible because of the back and forth that I would have had to travel to your islands to ascertain that data. But it took me at least 6 months to compile and produce the data that you will see, and then we can show you how we want you to improve in the area of math. Okay, now let's look at grade 1. Now we talk about promoting with the use of the 6 strands. And many, many of you know that, hey, one of our strands in the curriculum is the number and number sense strand. And if you were to look at this, the number and number sense, and these are the schools that participated. In my column right here, where you see me circling, is the average time spent on number and number sense for the 24 schools, which is 37 hours. Now let's look at some of the topics under number and number sense that should have been covered in that area. Let's look at positioning vocabulary words. If you were to quickly glance across here, you see that our grade 1 teachers are fairly doing some things. When I looked into the plan books, I saw Adelaide had 4 hours recorded. I saw Albury Sale had no hours recorded in their plan book. C.W. Sawyer had 1 hour recorded. And if you were to go through, now as you look, you'll see some zeros popping up. And where we have zeros, I am quite concerned because I'm not sure if the teachers taught that skill or not. But look in the average time spent on positioning vocabulary words. For 24 schools, it's roughly 2 hours. Then we go down to, let's look at another area here. Reading, writing, and exciting numbers sequence, reciting number sequences through 100. Oh, we love that. We love that area in grade 1. So you see, most persons have put some hours on my dashboard. But then when we look at that, let's look at the time spent. Out of all of those numbers, this school here, Yellow Villa Primary, they clocked 16 hours just for reading and writing numbers through 100. And you know, there's 16 hours, that's a long time. Then we have this school here, Columbus Primary. They spent 17 hours on just reading, writing, and reciting number sequences through 100. That's a lot of hours. Now, let's look at before and after. That's a skill that I know that our teachers teach. However, when I looked into the plan book, lo and behold, Adelaide Primary recorded nothing in the plan book. C.W. Sawyer, 0 in the plan book. Gerald Cass, 0. Sybil Strawn and T.G. Glover, 0. Carlton Francis, 0. Palmdale Primary, 0. Sandilands Primary, 0. Thelma Gibson Primary, 0. And when we look at the average time, it's like 2 hours spent on before and after. Now let me go down to something else that would pull my mind or would cause me to focus. This is the fractions, a half, a fourth, as a whole. And so let's look at this. Now, fraction is also one of those topics that teachers shy away from. And so we notice that, oh my goodness, the zeros are beginning to pop back up. So when we look at schools like Eva Hilton Primary, it is not being recorded in their plan book. And you will hear me stressing this. I'm not saying that teachers didn't teach it, but it was not recorded in the plan book. So as an officer, when I am looking to see if you have covered the topics, I have no way of knowing because I don't see any written evidence. So I would encourage you this academic year, when you're planning virtually on your lessons, and I ask the same virtually, you know, I should be able to do the same thing and get the information. So we have Aubrey Sale with 17, and see we have the zeros starting to come. Gerald Cash, the school is the Sybil Strawn, Centerville Primary, Claridge Primary, Columbus Primary. And then we look at our average section. We have an average of, I'm going to round this to 3 hours. So all of this will help us to, when we do the new pacing guide for the math curriculum, this will help us to know how much time we will put for you to spend on that particular topic. Now, sometimes you have to be careful because the curriculum will be flexible in that, hey, even though, let's say for this particular skill, positioning vocabulary words, in the curriculum is 4 hours. Let's say we put 4 hours there. But if your student needs 5 hours, that is fine. But now, if you're going to tell me you're going to give 10 hours to your students, that's too much time. And so you can work it because it is flexible. Now let's look at our next strand. Our first strand is number and number sense. Our second strand is patterns, functions, and algebra. Oh, wow. Now, you look in this corner here, I'm going to circle it with my cursor. You see the average time spent? Let's round that off to 5 hours. Wow, you mean for the whole academic year, only 5 hours was spent on patterns, functions, and algebra recorded by teachers. That is heartbreaking. Teachers of grade 1, we need to improve in that particular area. Now let's look at the areas closely. There are only 3 topics underneath patterns, function, and algebra. And that's using patterns of with pictures, shapes, and numbers. Now, most schools on our dashboard recorded an hour or so, but we still have some schools here with the zeros, Carlton Francis, Yellow Elder, Cambia Primary, Eva Hilton Primary with 0. And so when we look at our average time for patterns, it's about 2 hours. It's not showing a true picture because of all of these zeros that teachers are not or haven't recorded. I won't say not teaching, because like I said, I was only getting the information from the teachers' plan books. Let's look at patterns from one medium to another. Again, we clocked in just 1 hour on that particular topic. And then skip counting, which I know you do because I hear you when I pass the schools. You're saying 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and you're going, but it's not recorded in your plan book. So here it is. We have all of these schools on my far right here with just zeros. And then if we were to look at Galvantine's Primary, they did 13 hours of skip counting, and that's a lot of hours. I know you have questions, and we will answer all of them at the end. We need to improve the teaching of our patterns, functions, and algebra. Why? Because we are promoting succession in the math curriculum. Let's look at computation and estimation. If we look for the average time for that particular strand, we have 24 hours. But when we take a closer look at what's happening in these particular areas, for example, addition and subtraction facts to 20, we see most of our schools are clocked in, but our highest number of hours recorded is 10 hours. Our lowest number of hours recorded is 1 hour. And so hence we have an average hour of just 2 hours on that particular skill or that particular topic. Now let's look at solving fact families. I know you love fact families. Oh my goodness, you love it. And so if you were to look at the dashboard, you would see the school, which is First Adelaide Primary, they clocked in 9 hours of fact family. And then we have Centerville Primary, they clocked in 14 hours. Wow. And then we have Sandland, Spelman, and Uriah McPhee at 5 hours because they are at the end, some other schools. But we need to see how best we can improve. And I want you to look at this one last one on this particular slide. Addition and subtraction problem using solving whole numbers. Problems using whole numbers are supposed to be. But look at that. We have all of our schools recorded on the board, and that's beautiful. I love that. But if you were to look at Albury Sale Primary, I mean, they're way in the front. They have 24 hours. And so when you're looking at 24 hours, that's a lot of hours. That's like over a month. And that's too long to be on one particular strand or one particular topic. Like I said, we don't want to overwhelm the children because when you remain on topics for a long time, you lose the children. Remember, we are promoting successful patterns in the teaching and learning of math. And one thing is to make sure we are not overwhelming the children, spending too long of a time on a particular skill or topic. Then we go to our next strand, which is measurement. And as you are aware, if you could see the board clearly, let's go back into our right-hand corner and we see the average for that particular strand for the 24 schools in New Providence is just 18 hours. Now we will pull out some of this. If you could look at it, you'll see a lot of zeros. That means our teachers are probably not comfortable with the measurement strand and hence they do not teach it. And so here it is, we have comparing lengths and heights of two objects. Now we have some zeros here, but thank God for these schools like Aubrey Sale, Gerald Cash, Stephen Dillett, Sybil Strawn, T.G. Glover, Woodcock Primary, Carlton, Centerville, Claridge, Cleveland, E.P. Roberts, Palmdale, Sadie Curtis, Uriah McPhee, who touched the board. And so for that particular skill, we just have about, for average for the 24 school, 1 hour. And so you know we need more than just 1 hour on comparing lengths and heights of two objects for our students. Now let's go down here where it talks about area, determine area. Yes, we do areas, but it's just the surface. That's all you need to explain to the children, to the surface. And in that particular area, only 4 schools were able to place an hour on this dashboard. And hence, the teaching of that skill average about 1 hour. We need to improve that skill because whatever is happening in grade 1, you are so important, my first graders, my first grade teachers. You're important because now you're laying the foundation for the second graders. Now let's look at geometry. Geometry strand. Okay, we have 5 hours clocked there, and the same thing is happening. So our teachers appear not to be comfortable teaching measurement and geometry. And so the Department of Education, through the virtual lessons, have teachers creating how to teach areas in geometry in grade 1 to assist you. And so when you go into that platform, you will see the teachers executing the lesson so that you will be able to have something to pattern. Now let's look at the second one in geometry. Now you will see the number 10 highlighted because that's a long time for orientation of triangles, squares, rectangles, and circles in different orientations, how you would place them. So 10 hours is a lot of time to just say, okay, I put the triangle upside down, I put the circle to the left, I put the tip vertically. You could be doing all of that one time, but to take 10 hours, that's too much time on one particular skill. And our last strand is the statistic and probability strand. And here again, if you will look into my average column, we'll round this, so there is only like 6 hours, and that is concerned because we will look further at how many hours there should be and how many hours you actually spend on that particular strand. Let's look at graphs and pictographs. Our teachers love that. So basically every school had something on the dashboard there. So that was not too bad. But when you're looking at prediction of chance, like using the terms likely and unlikely, when I look at my board for likely and unlikely, only several schools, we have either Hilton, we have Woodcock Primary, we have Sadie Curtis Primary, and we have Thelma Gibson Primary. And if you were to look over here, that didn't even add to 1 hour. And so all you're asking the students is it likely that it can happen? Is it unlikely that it will happen? For example, it rained on Monday. It also rained on Tuesday. Do you think it's likely to rain on Wednesday? So those are the types of questions that you can ask your students. And you only need about like 2 hours on that particular skill to confirm that your students need it. Now, this is what I want you to pay attention to, the total hours. Now, everybody start off the school year with the same number of hours. But when you look at the total number of hours per school, this is where I have a concern as an officer. We have, let's see what's the highest school here. We have Woodcock Primary with 129 hours. We have Eva Hilton with 63 hours. The difference between 63 and 129, so where did the hours go? This school here, Columbus Primary, has 88 hours. When we have 129 hours from Woodcock Primary, what did we do with the time? And all of these are questions that come to our minds so that we can help you to be successful in promoting mathematics. Then we had a closer look at your monthly exams, sports day, fun day, field trips, special assemblies, and I know that grade 1 does ages and stages, and so we had to look up that too. And so here it is that we have our exams. The highest we have this is 13 hours, and that's coming out of our math time. So when we look at our grand total at the bottom here for our schools, we have, oh my goodness, we have Woodcock with 147 hours, but then we are still concerned because when we compare it, we have schools here like 92 hours, 80 hours. Where did the time go? And so I'm going to show you now some graphs so you can see what I'm really highlighting. Now let's look at your area in grade 2. Allocated time for number and number sense in the math curriculum is 36 hours. But the 24 schools only gave 23 hours. Patterns, function, and algebra, 20 hours. Actual teaching time, as we discussed, only 5 hours. Computation and estimation, 45 hours. Actual instructional time, 40 hours. So that was sort of close, and that's good. So we need more of our figures compromising and coming up to things like that. Measurement, we have 35 hours, but only 19 hours clocked by schools. Geometry, 25 hours, only 5 hours clocked. Probability statistics, 20 hours. But look at this, only 5 hours was clocked. And that is a concern. Now, this is just a little diagram to show you how for the actual and for the allotted, the actual is this russet orange color, and the blue is the allotted. So here it is, you will see our bars. This is what we gave to you, and this is what you gave to us. This is what we gave to you, and this is what you gave to us. And you see our number and number sense, we're getting there, and so that's a good attempt there for our number and number sense, and of course, our computation and estimation. So hats off to you there, but that's 2 of the 6 strands, so we need to improve so we can promote successful areas in math if we teach to the strands. That's just a little, but I'm going to show it to you in a circular graph or pie graph so you can see it better. Now, this is what I'm concerned about for grade 1. Uncovered, you didn't cover 60% of the curriculum, but you covered 40%. Oh, I felt that. Because now, when the child goes into grade 2, the gap now begins to get wide. Oh, it's extended. And so, if you do not teach the topics in an integrated approach, the teacher at the next level will have problems doing and the students will have problems catching up. So I advise you and encourage you to do the best that you can to close this gap. Now we're just going to focus on this grades 3 and 6. I'm going to leave this slide. Now these 6 strands in mathematics, now listed are the strands that are not given much attention to by our teachers, and hence it is causing a large gap in the teaching and learning of mathematics. Now at the grade 1 level, your area is, like as we explained, statistics, probability, and measurement. A little geometry is there, but it isn't too bad. But these are your areas. And if you can also see this grades 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, you'll see the pattern, how we are having problems straight across in that particular area, because when you start seeing that gap at grade 1, it gets wider and wider and wider and wider as the child goes from one grade level to the next. Okay, now for grade 1, shapes and different orientation. Too long, 10 hours, various ways of adding and subtracting, 16 hours, that is too long. Remember your periods for math for the upper primary and for the lower primary. Now in grade 1, we have a disparity among schools. Let's look at grade 1. We have Palmdale Primary School with 122 hours. The same amount of time given to everybody, but hence we have the lowest here, Yellow Elder Primary School with 73 hours. This is a concern. And so what our recommendations are, we want to make sure that our teachers adhere to the scheduled time allotted for math on the timetable for lower primary, which is 5 hours. You have that an hour a day. To help me, I want you to give me better documentation on the skills that you have covered. Like I said, this is only information that I got from your plan books. And if you are exempted from, let's say you're exempted from writing notes for that particular week, we still want the topics, so when an officer comes in, the officer can say, okay, now, these are the topics that I have, or the grade level has covered. We are going to integrate topics and strands so that the students can see the relationship between the same or among the same. And so it will help you all to complete the document in a timely fashion when integration is manifested. We are going to ensure that we have a pacing guide that you can really rely on. Currently, what we are doing in the Department of Education in the area of math, we're revising the document. And I have excellent persons on my team, persons who can integrate. So when you see the revised pacing guide, you'll be able to, you're gonna put topics together where you can integrate and complete. Of course, we will have our workshop sessions to assist you to understand how to use that document. And then we will have a checkpoint system concerning the time allocation to ensure that you are on target with the teaching of all topics, and hence when the child goes from one grade level to the next, the gap will not be wide. Now, the implication for our curriculum is that we will adjust the pacing guide, as I've said already, and we will do workshops to assist you. Now, I will stop right there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this particular time. And what I want to focus on, now that you know the 6 strands, I want you to bear in mind that, guess what? With the new curriculum coming on stream, we have compressed the 6 strands into 5 strands, according to the NCTM, the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. That is the body we are governed by. And so they have now compressed it into 5 components. So the new document will have the 5 strands. And of course, some of the names are similar and some of the names have changed. And so you will have to get used to that. Now, when it comes to the language of mathematics, especially for grade 1, it's concerned that one, we need to get the right language. Now, I know our grade 1 teachers love to say, let's look at the number 0. And our grade 1 teachers love to say, 0 is nothing. 0 is nothing. I want you to change that because now we are promoting the success of mathematics. I want you to say 0 is the absence of something. Why I'm saying that? If you have $70, and our students can count, but if you're saying that 0 is nothing, so that means my $70 becomes $7. Oh no, the devil is a liar. My $70 still remains as $70. But it's just 0 is the absence of something. And in that case, it's the absence of something in the ones place. I'm quite sure that you're aware of our fractions. How do we pronounce our fractions? Is it 3/4? Is it 1/4? 7/8? But yet we have our teachers, some of our teachers, who are saying, oh, it's 1/2. The fraction is 1/2. And you will be defined by saying 1/2. You know why I am saying that? If you were to go into the fabric store, Commonwealth fabric store, Carey's fabric store, whatever fabric store it may be, and you are making some curtains and you said, I want about 15 and 1/2 yards of fabric. I'm quite sure you don't say that. You'll say I want 15.5 yards of fabric. But now you are having the students to say 1/2. And so when the child gets into grade 2, the teacher in grade 2 has to now reteach that 1/2 as a half. Another thing I want you to be cognizant of in the language of math is the word and, A-N-D. Let's look at this example. I'm going to call some digits. 1, 6, 7. 167, that means that is 167. I still go to the classrooms, I'm seeing teachers saying 167. That's not right. And denotes a decimal point. And so if you are teaching that at grade 1, when the child gets to grade 3, the child will be confused because now the teacher is looking at decimals and you and for decimals, and no, it doesn't work like that. So you now have to say 167. Another thing that I've noticed in grade 1 at the grade 1 level is the way sometimes teachers call the numbers. I know we can call these numbers when we're doing advertisements and things of that nature, and when we say 2020 and things of that nature. That is for advertisement purposes. But for the teaching in the classroom, I should not hear anyone saying 167. The number, what the number is? 167. What's that? No, 167, that's not the number. So we call the number as 167. And there are just so many things that we can go into. And I am going to, for the language, you know it's Adam, right? Adam. And for those of you who may be in grade 1 at this time, and will eventually go into an upper grade, these two words are very, very important. And our teachers are using them interchangeably, and it's not correct. And those are the words rename, R-E-N-A-M-E, rename, and regroup. They are two different words. Rename, R-E-N-A-M-E, is used when you are subtracting, but I know in grade 1, you don't do with regrouping. or renaming in that case, but you still need to know. However, with adding, you would use the word or the terminology regrouping. Remember, we are promoting succession or successful use, successful highlights in mathematics. Teachers, I encourage you to use the vocabulary. Use add-ins. Use the word difference. Use the word, what else? Not minuend, but the plus sign, the subtraction sign. Use those ordinal numbers. Let the students know ordinal numbers. Let them know what that means, because when they use the appropriate mathematical language, the symbols, they will be able to understand things in a better fashion. Now, I will address, I'm going back to the 6 strands. Now, some teachers are confused as to what is mathematical concept, what is computation, and what is application, because that's the way your grade book is divided. What goes into mathematical concepts? Let's say you're doing regrouping tens for grade 1. You will say, okay, I'm grouping. So you'll have like 12 objects and you're grouping in 10, and then 2 items are left. And when you put a little bundle, that's 10, that's one group, and we have 2 out of that group. Right there, the child is understanding the concept of grouping, so that when you grade that particular strategy or skill, you will put that grade under mathematical concepts. Now let's go now to computation. That same mathematical concepts, 12 plus 14, you add that, and when you add those 2 things together, that will go into your computation part on your plan book. And then we have the application. Let's go back to the example. I have 24 boys in my class, and 2 more boys joined. How many boys I have altogether? When you give them words like that, what is my clue word? How do I know all of those things? That aspect of it will go under your application area. And so that's how you would do it. And what some teachers do, and we remember, we are promoting math to be successful. What I've been noticing in some of the teachers' books at the grade 1 level is that you have teachers, they would go on Monday, they would have, let's say they're doing ordinal numbers. Then on Tuesday, they would go to adding. Then on Wednesday, they would go to problem solving that doesn't even relate to either Monday or Tuesday. Whatever you do on that first week, it should be relatable to every other day, because you don't want to break it up. If you're doing concept with place value, you do your addition, you highlight the place value, and even when you're doing your application, you also will highlight your place value. And I'm going to stop now for questions and answers. So Dr. Roll, I thank you so much. I thank all the participants. And so you could give me their questions and answer at this particular time.
All right, so we have, well, not so much a question, but we have some concerns brought forward by Ms. Dorishka Johnson. She
Okay.
wanted to know which year or time of year the data was collected. And I don't know if you want to address that at this time.
What was the other one? Is a part 2?
No, there's, well, she's saying she had it recorded in her books, but she wants to know, the exact time of year and which year the
That was
information.
in It was 2019, because we didn't do anything last year, last year, 2019, 2019.
Okay. And the only other thing that came from the question and answer section so far was from Miss Denise Francis, who made mention of the fact that there have been significant improvements made in the year 2019-20. Now, I don't know if anyone has any questions at this time.
That's a good thing, because when I gave this, I did a workshop sessions with administrators, and administrators, they noted the concerns, and they went back to their schools. And because of COVID-19, we were unable to go to any school to collect any further data. And that's another thing that we will have to continue to collect data to enhance the teaching and learning of mathematics, because our teachers are doing an excellent job. And of course, some of us needs to be pushed, some of us needs to be nudged, but all of that is to help improve the teaching and learning of mathematics. So, Dontley, any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. Another question just came up from Miss Candia Bethel-Cinch. She's asking, will the new curriculum be available to us this term?
Okay. No, no, the curriculum will not be this term. We're still in the writing process. Like I said, we are really revising the document, and we are going to put with our pacing guide. We are going to put how we can connect topics, how we can shorten the time, because we realize that integration of the same topics will help teachers to better complete the document, and as well for students to understand how one skill is important, and so that when they get to the next grade level, they would need that same particular skill. Due to COVID-19, it was just hectic. We were engaged in the virtual platform where teachers were creating a lot of math videos. We just came out of a session where I had a team of excellent teachers who did 6 weeks of math lessons for grades 1 through 6 for the first 6 weeks of school. And that will be available to all and sundry. And of course, we will put more up so that you can have a pattern as to how you should be able to do your videos